So these guys will not practice: Ty Nasecki, Eli Harold, E.J. Gaines, Tyler Croft, Cole Beasley, Zay Jones, Jason Kroom. And then the following guys will be limited and in red jerseys for practice: Russell Bodine, Mitch Morse, Quentin Spain, Ed Oliver, Raphael Bush, and Taryn Johnson. So with that, we'll open up to questions.
So are any of those non-participants on the serious side, or are they more light type of injury, like no broken ankles or anything like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for the most part. I mean, it's anytime you miss, it is serious because we need you out there. I mean, there's a number of guys that aren't practicing, so hard to develop the team when you're not practicing and not available. So, but overall, other than really Tyler's situation that we talked about the other week, it's most of them, are at this point shorter-term situations. So.
Have you established a timeline yet for Cole Beasley and when you kind of expect to see him on the field?
Yeah, he's on a similar timeline to Mitch, I would say. So he's a few weeks behind Mitch, though, at this point, Josh. But he's making progress.
Tyrell Dotson, we haven't heard from you since the arrest, or since the charges. What's your take?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Serious situation, and we take it very seriously. We've communicated with him. It's an open case at this point, so we just have to let it go through the court process, and we'll do our best to stay on top of it from our end and making sure that we're gathering as much information as we can. So it is a very serious situation.
What's up with Ed Oliver? You said he was just
Shoulder soreness. Shoulder soreness, yeah.
With Mitch and Bodine, coach, are they going to participate in those red jerseys? Like, what are they going to be able to do?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into detail, Chris. I mean, that's for you guys to see out there and report on. I just think it's they're going to start with individual and go from there. So.
Encouraged though by them being back even before minicamp at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's what we projected. So they're on schedule. They've worked hard. You look at Russ's off season, and man, he's worked his butt off. He really has, and so I'm extremely proud of him the way he's worked, and it'll be good to have him out there.
Hey, Sean, in these early practices, how has the battle at cornerback looked to you so far? Those three guys especially are in competition for that starting job. How's that kind of shaking out so far?
Yeah, they've done a good job. When you look at what, starting with Tre'Davious and the way he's worked at his craft this offseason, and then Levi, and his growth and story has been well documented the last couple of weeks, and he's earned that. And then Kevin and EJ and the rest of the guys have been in there battling as well. And what I love about Kevin is he's gotten his hands on some footballs the last few weeks here, and taken the ball away a few times, and so his mindset has been impressive, just from his mental toughness and his focus at this point. So that's been good to see.
Sean, last year you got pretty big contributions from a pair of undrafted guys in Levi and Robert Foster. Just what's the challenge for those guys in that group to not just make the 53, but also to become contributors?
Yeah, that's a fair question and a good question. The second year is always different than the first, and therein lies a challenge for guys like Levi that you mentioned and Robert that experienced success in their first season to come out and reinvent themselves this next year. The challenge will be different. There's tape on them out there now, much like a pitcher in baseball. They're not going to be sneaking up on anyone this season, and so they have to continue to challenge themselves and remain confident, but know that their role may be slightly different this year than it was last season.
How much does Star do in terms of helping a young guy like Ed Oliver? Just from what you can observe, and maybe what you've even discussed with him about certain things you'd like him to do to help a rookie at that similar spot.
Yeah, it's a little bit ironic for me with Star, because he was once a rookie with me in Carolina, and Dewan Edwards, who played here years ago, right? Great player, great person, helped shepherd Star, and now Star's on a role to help mentor someone else, and in this case Ed. And it won't just be Star; it'll be a number of guys in that room that can help Ed, and so You know, at the end of the day, though, Ed's got to do it himself. You know, he's got to take ownership of it.
What are the, can you just expand on the types of things that that could be valuable to?
Yeah, no, it's so watching just the habits really that come with being a professional. What time you get in the building, what time you leave, film watching, when do I lift weights, when do I get a massage, what do I do on the weekend, being a 24-hour professional football player as opposed to, okay, I'm in the building for 8 hours or whatever it is. There's a difference in that type of habit process, and so understanding that it's all day, all night commitment, not just it's a 24-hour commitment, not just a, hey, this is what I do during the day, and then I'm outside the building and this is what I do. So it's important that the habits that precede the winning are being built the right way and in a timely fashion for these young players.
Sorry, Sean. What have been your impressions of Kevin Johnson for, a highly touted guy who was a first-round pick and just injury problems just kind of like didn't help his career in Houston? What have you seen from him upon his arrival and just the potential? And did you scout him when he was coming out?
Yeah, I mean, he was at Wake down the road from where we were in Carolina with the Panthers, and so we knew of Kevin, held him in high regard coming out, and it was, to me, no surprise he got drafted where he did in terms of the round and the spot. He's had a tough career in terms of his challenges with injuries. That said, what I've seen to this point is a young man that's extremely focused, works extremely hard, is smart, plays the game the way we want it to be played, and as I mentioned earlier, he's gotten his hands on some footballs this spring to this point, which is important for us in terms of taking the ball away and playing good defense. We'll see more when the pads come on. Again, it's still early, but to this point, I've loved his mindset.
You had a lot.
Can you just describe a little bit of maybe the synergy that's going on between Josh and Ken Dorsey, just what you're seeing maybe in the room and then even on the field, how those two are kind of meshing a little bit?
Yeah, that's it's never easy when you're a new staff member coming into a situation where the staff was pretty much already in place, and I would say the same for Bobby and all of our new coaches, including Ken, Terry Heffernan, Ryan Wendell, all these guys that Heath, no different, that have come in. They've done a fantastic job integrating themselves into what we do, how we do it, really working long hours when their families haven't been here in particular to get themselves up to speed and learn our systems, learn how we do things, and then that relationship specifically with Ken and Josh is, again, he's coming into a room where Brian does a lot of work with the quarterbacks already, so finding that niche role and position and then having a voice and a trusted voice and earning that with Brian, and that's been fun to watch. Josh has had a solid spring. He continues to grow and evolve, which is what's to be expected for a young player, a young quarterback, and Ken has had a big role in that.
You had a lot of first and second year players get a lot of snaps last year. Do you feel like you've gotten to the point where you're not too young? And then could you speak to the value you put on making sure you get a strong veteran presence in every position room?
Yeah, the strong veteran presence is important, and I would say we're not there yet. We looked at some opportunities this off season, and there's still some room to improve in that area in terms of a leader in every room. That said, I think we have improved our roster in that regard. And I would say with young players and time on task, I read the list of injuries. How do you develop? And it's tough to develop the continuity that we need to when you've got this number of guys who aren't practicing who are missing significant time right now. So, but that's the hand we're dealt. We work with it. We control what we can control, and we go out there and accomplish the objectives that we need to accomplish today.
Sean, I know we don't take official attendance, but it seems like there's a lot of guys out there. How pleased have you been with the turnout throughout these OTAs?
Yeah, it's been outstanding. It really has. And even the guys that are hurt, they're going through, they're maximizing their treatment opportunities, and our trainers have done a fantastic job, and our strength staff making sure that what they can do, they get done. And so it's not been from a lack of effort or want to, including the participation. It's been outstanding all season.
What has Tyler Croft's injury in particular meant to that tight end group outside of Lee Smith? You know, it's a pretty young group there.
Yeah, it is young, but it's what it's afforded us really, Jay, is a chance for our young guys to get out there and get a ton of reps. And so we've been able to see more of Tommy and Dawson, and their rep counts have been higher naturally, so they're exposed to more football for us to evaluate and for them to get the feedback off of the film. And so that's been kind of a good thing. I hate to say it, but with Tyler not in there. That said, we do need Tyler back to develop a rapport with Josh and get comfortable for his own well-being as well.
How excited are you, Sean, to see what Tremaine Edmunds will be able to accomplish in his second year? I mean, we saw so much last year. Leslie talked about it last week. How we all know the first to second year thing, but for you specifically, how excited are you about what he could do?
Well, I'm excited about it. I mean, like I am, honestly, Josh and the rest of the second-year players. It's an opportunity for them, right? It's an opportunity for them to be able to slow things down. In this case, Tremaine, to watch him really come into his own. We're talking about a 20-year-old who was 19, then he's 20, and you're saying it's a pretty young guy. I mean, guys coming out this year are older than Tremaine in the draft, so it's a little bit of a unique situation. But to watch him just physically mature from the time he left to the time we saw him a few months ago, he's been working, and that's been nice to see. It doesn't surprise me knowing him. He works at things. It's important to him. I've watched him take leadership steps this off season since he's been back, and some of that means Lorenzo has to kind of give up some of that in that linebacker room, and that's a very unselfish approach by probably our biggest leader on our football team, is to pass that torch in some ways to Tremaine, and that's a sign of a good football team. When you're an unselfish team and you have a bunch of unselfish guys, that's a good quality to have.
Sean, there was a big report yesterday regarding Jim Kelly joining your staff. So what's his role going to be?
On our staff?
Said he was approaching an official role with your staff.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
He's working with Josh Allen.
I didn't. Yeah, I can elaborate on our growth mindset that we find every way possible to improve our football team. As far as that other report goes, I didn't see that, and I didn't hear that. But
Sean, what Jim said was that he was meeting with Dorsey, with Dave Ball, and with Josh, also that they had downloaded plays from the Super Bowl era, and maybe and said that there were whatever plays that Josh liked to be implemented. So he was pretty specific, very specific about discussions. He said in meetings with that.
Yeah, look, it really boils down to, like I said before, us trying to find every way possible to improve our football team. And I've stood up here before and told you guys we look at every way to improve our football team, and this is no different. And so, look, Jim's a Hall of Famer, and to me, it would be ignorant of us not to have a relationship with Jim and sometimes ask him, hey, what he thinks, and we've got a young quarterback, take a look, so all that's healthy, all that's good. At the end of the day, Brian will be the one calling the plays, and we'll move forward with that.
Is it all that uncommon?
You guys can work out that amongst yourselves.
Is that all that uncommon for an NFL team to go back and talk to, a player who's had a lot of success and maybe hasn't built Jim?
I think that varies out there. I think those relationships vary. In this case, Jim obviously had a ton of success years ago here, and he's a big part of our community, and we're very grateful to have him around the organization and in the community, and especially with what he's gone through the last handful of years with the health issue, and we just continue to pray for his health and well-being, and so we stand on the foundation that those guys built years ago in the early '90s, and we hope to continue to carry that tradition moving forward of Buffalo Bills football.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Sean.
I got to run.
Thanks, Sean.